boys and girls, secondary school students, students of Dharma classes, all youth members, parents, grandparents, and teachers of Dharma classes. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. We are going to have a presentation on a motivational topic, which is quite important. And the presentation is titled Overcoming Laziness, a Zen Wisdom Story. Now, as usual, we are going to have a presentation. Now, the PowerPoint presentation has the text in English and Chinese. The Chinese is done using Google Translate, so it might not be 100% accurate, but it will help those who are not so proficient in English. The narration with explanation will be in English. So now let us start by launching the PowerPoint slideshow from the beginning. So now you see the first slide, the cover slide. Let me stop the video. Right, the video is not really necessary now. Now, as you can see, the title is Overcoming Laziness, a Zen Buddhist Story. Now, Zen, as you know, is a tradition in Buddhism that emphasizes on Dharma, reflections, Dharma study, and meditation. Now, this story conveys very important life lessons where you can gain in wisdom. Now, the cover slide, I think you can see shows maybe a young youth member facing actually a Zen master, usually a monk, right? And that is this animated image of a Zen master or Zen monk, and this is the youth member. Now let us now go on to the slide number 2 that actually starts the story. Now, once upon a time, there was a young man who lived in a small village at the foot of a mountain. This young man was known throughout the village for his laziness. He would spend his days lying in the shade of a tree, napping and daydreaming, while the other villagers toil away in the fields and workshops. Now, actually, as you can see in the picture, there was this village, small village, rural area at the foot of a mountain, and you could see the picture also, right? The mountains, and then the village, the people working in the farms, and also probably they had certain workshops to do carpentry work, or some other simple types of work. So now let us now continue the explanation. So this young man, he was a very, very lazy person. And everybody in the village knew about his laziness. So instead of working or helping or doing something more concrete, like studying and so on, he would spend a lot of time, sleeping, right? He would go out into the outside area lah. There would be trees, so he would choose a tree and he would lie beneath the tree and then would daydream, fantasize, and then sleep lah. Whereas the other villagers, including other youth members, they were working very hard in the fields, and the workshops. So there was this person you could see, the image shows the fella sleeping away, lazing away lah. So this was a lazy youth member. So one day, a wise old man, right, came to the village. So of course, the people told him about this young man who did not want to help but was a lazy person. And he called the young man over to him, right? So maybe somebody, fetch the old man, fetch the youth member to see the wise old monk, right? So then the monk started talking with him, asked him to sit near him, right? Then he said, "My son," said the monk, "I have a task for you. I want you to climb to the top of that mountain and bring back a single very special feather from the highest peak, so you could see the mountains there, right? So he was probably in, 18 or 19 or 20 years old. Otherwise, how could he climb a mountain, right? A youth member. So, so the monk said, "I have this special task for you, So could you just climb to the top of the mountain, and then you can bring back a very special feather one, So then the young man, the lazy young man, looked up at the mountain and scoffed. Now scoff means that like ridicule, sneered, right? To sort of, show his face that, he was say, thinking that the monk's request was a ridiculous one. He sneered. So it was like sort of very insulting type of reaction. "That's impossible," he said. "I'm far too lazy to climb all the way up there." Actually, a young man, many also climb mountains and then go for outdoor activities, isn't it? So there was this young man, he was sneering, scoff. And then there was the young master, the old Zen master was talking to the youth member. Now let us go on to slide number 4. So the monk, here you can see the picture of the monk talking to the young man. And then the mountains were not far away there. So the monk smiled and said, "What you see, the feather I seek is not on the mountain itself. It is on the other side of the mountain in a cave, that can be only reached by climbing." So he made it sound very mysterious and very interesting also. So in order to get that feather, a very special feather, maybe he would explain that he has special qualities or properties, but the story did not elaborate. Of course, you could add that it was a magical feather. And he is on the other side of the mountain, and he was in the cave, that can only be reached by climbing to the top of the mountain and then climbing down again to the other side. And you will go to a cave. Very interesting cave, Wow, this young man got interested because he had never heard of such a thing, a mountain and then going on to a cave. Very fascinated. So the young man was intrigued. Now, intrigued means he was very fascinated. He was very curious also. So then he was thinking, I've never heard of this sort of things. And he had never heard of this feather. Then he was wondering what this was all about. So this thought of such a very special task sparked his curiosity. He was very curious to find out what this whole thing is about. Climbing the mountain and then the cave and then finding a feather for this monk. And the monk was actually a very nice monk, full of metta, right? So the young man also was taken by this. The looks of the monk are very serene and very compassionate and all those qualities. So he was thinking like this. So what did he do? Did he take up the challenge to climb the tree and then go on to the cave? So to know that, we have to move on to slide number 5 now. Slide number 5. All these pictures actually pertain to the story. To show you the cave, right? On the other side of the mountain, the feather, a white feather, and this representing the white man wandering, very curious and wondering what it was all about. So now let us go on to the one. Now, so the young man, so he decided, he said, I think I will take up the monk's challenge. You consider it like a challenge because it was climbing a mountain and then going down again to reach the cave, isn't it? So it was like a challenge, something that he had not encountered before, right? Not the work in the village and so on, right? So, so he started lah. He started, the monk, of course, waited for him, and then the villagers also offered food to the monk. So the climb up the mountain was a very long and arduous. Arduous means quite difficult lah, involving effort, strength. That's the meaning. And then I have this picture here animated to show the climb lah. Difficult thing, but actually it could be done. It did not say how steep it was, but actually it would involve. There are many mountain climbers. I didn't know. So the young man, because he was a lazy person, he had not enough exercise, so he soon found himself out of breath, a bit tired already, out of breath. Maybe he could rest for a while, stop climbing in an area, maybe midway up the mountain. And he was sweating, sweating because of the effort. But then he found he was concentrating on the climbing. As he climbed higher and higher, he began to feel a sense of exhilaration. Exhilaration means elation, joy, a very high state of joy. He felt very, very happy like that, Right? And also he felt very excited. So it was good feelings which he had never felt before. All the while he was lazy, so the mind was drowsy, bored, sometimes restless also, right? And then, thinking of this and that, but not getting it. So it was not a good mind state. But now he was concentrating on the climb, being with the moment. So he had this experience of a great joy of the present thing that the present thing that he was doing, like climbing the thing, and he never felt such a state of mind before. And finally, he managed to reach the summit. The summit means the top. He reached the top of the mountain. He was exhausted, even though he was tired and exhausted. But he had this very strange experience of extreme joy. He was full of joy and happiness also. As if somebody, were to do a task and he succeeds in doing that task, whether it's mountain climbing or running a marathon race, then at the end, wow, tired, but you feel very satisfied that you have achieved something, isn't it? You have accomplished something. That was sort of a feeling that he got, which he never experienced before. So all these pictures show this narration pieces. The monk pointed out, and then he was climbing. Then he reached the summit already, and he was tired, but yet he felt very, very happy, joyful, overjoyed. So now let us go on to slide number 6 now. So from the top, you could see down, and he looked at the breathtaking view before him. This you could see an idea. From the top of the mountain, you look down, and you could see a very beautiful, peaceful, tranquil scenery. That's why people, one of the reasons why people climb mountains, because when they reach the summit, they have this very, very good feelings, and then fantastic view, a very peaceful view you could see from there, from bottom. You can see that, you see? And then now another very interesting experience he had was this. He felt a sense of accomplishment that he had never experienced before. Accomplishment would mean achievement, that he had successfully got something, He had successfully attained, success in a particular project, just as sometimes, you have a project, maybe it was quite hard, and then you put in all the effort, but at the end of the project, very successful, everything completed, you have this very, very strong, great feeling of accomplishment. Oh, I've done something very good, positive, constructive. Just as people who, for example, write a book. Some people who write books, at the end there is a very strong feeling of accomplishment, very satisfied. Or people who have recorded a song, singers, or even an actor, actress who has acted in the movie. At the end of the movie, very, very happy. There is a sense of accomplishment. So that was the experience or feelings that he got, which he had never got before. But then after that, he started to think, here you could see the picture. He was viewing the thing from the top, and then he was this one is just to show that he was very happy, elated. There's a sense of achievement, a sense of accomplishment, which he had never experienced before. But then after that, he started to think, the real challenge lay ahead, Not yet, the task is not finished yet. He just climbed up the mountain. But remember now, that the monk told him that the feather which he was supposed to bring back for the monk was not at the top of the mountain. It was in a cave. And the cave was on the other side, down the mountain. A cave down on the ground there, you see. So which means that this young man had to descend, to climb down, the other side of the mountain already. You understand, I think, from the picture, let's say we were on the top on one side, then you climb down already, right? And then climbing down, he was supposed to see a cave. Here you will see the cave there, which is at the base of the other side of the mountain. And then inside the cave, there will be this very, very special feather. The story did not give the explanation of why the feather was very special, but maybe it was just something that the monk wanted to tell, to make him curious and so on. Or maybe he could have some certain special, beautiful properties, probably. Because the youth member was very, very curious already. Right? So he was thinking, wow, now I have to go down, climb down. Some people consider climbing down also very, very challenging. Some say, wow, more difficult than climbing up. Just sometimes you go up a hill, or maybe even a place like Batu Caves in KL, for example, how many hundred steps, right? So you have to climb up the steps. That's one thing. So you'll be really taxing on your legs, on your calves and things like that. Then after that, you have to come down. Some people say, oh, coming down is even worse, more difficult, very frightening. But for me, I've gone when I was younger, up the Batu Caves, 200 steps. I find for me, climbing up was more difficult because climbing up, you have to lift up your whole weight. Climbing down, you have to be careful, no doubt, because you could slip and fall, you see. But different people say different things. And also when we were at this Cambodia, the Angkor Wat area, I remember in the Angkor Wat area, we also had to climb, climb high up. There were other trips in India and Vietnam or what. We also, the time I was younger, but now it's not possible. It's very difficult. Even walking was so difficult. When you get older, then things do not remain the same. So that was this young man's feeling. Wow, it will be a real challenge to now go down the mountain to the cave, right? Just now was climbing up, it was difficult also, but now he also knew that descending also would be a challenge, So what did he do? Did he decide to carry out completely the task? So then, let's see the next slide. So the descent to him, he decided to do it. The descent was even more difficult than the climb, to him. So he stumbled, and fell many times, but luckily he did not fall down. He just, there may be, certain types of natural steps. Natural steps that you could climb down and you could slip and then fall in that area. But he did not fall down. He just stumbled and fell on that spot. But then he was thinking of the feather, that lay ahead inside the cave. So he did not give up. He persevered. Persevered means he carried on, carried on the task that was to find the feather. So he persevered and continued climbing down. And finally, he reached the base. And then, as stated, he could see the cave already. Right. Now, of course, this is a beautiful picture of the, inside of the cave, and then you could look out also. It's just how I gave you another picture. So he finally reached the cave, and he did see the feather. The story did not tell where exactly was the feather, but the moment he went into the cave already, then he could see, probably it was lying on the ground near a rock or whatever lah, right? So he saw the beautiful white feather lying there. It was not very far from the entrance of the cave. So there was light coming in also lah, right? A cave usually could be very, very dark, for those of you who have gone to caves like, Gua Tempurung or some other caves that you have explored, or there are many caves in Ipoh area you go in, but those are not very, very big caves. One of the caves I've gone to was in China, I think, in Kunming, a very huge cave, and the climb was not very, very high up. But inside are very beautiful. You got the stalactites, stalagmites, and then there was even an exhibition area. It was so huge, where you could display very interesting things of that region. There was Yunnan. So, wow, you found was very beautiful, The light that filtered in from the entrance of the cave made the feather shine in a very beautiful manner. So then he picked up the feather. He picked up the feather because he was instructed to bring the feather back to the monk, you see. And he was staring at his beauty, so beautiful. But now again, he realized he had a problem. Now he had to climb up again the mountain, right? He had to climb up the mountain and then go back to the place, the village, where the monk was waiting. So it was quite a task. Probably the mountain was not that high. It was not Mount Everest. They have to do it for days. But this one, no, I don't think it was very, very high. So anyway, he had never done this sort of thing before. So he had to climb down that mountain. So all in all, probably might take a few hours. Maybe it might take a couple of hours or things like that. 2 or 3 or 4 hours. So it was not a very high mountain, because this was the first time he had mountain climbing experience. So now let us go on to slide number 8 now. Now he was wondering, wow, how was he now to climb up the mountain again? And then after that, go back to the village and return the feather to the monk, right? For a moment, the thought came into the mind, better give up. He was able to give up, then how would he return, you see? But it was just like that, you see, it was so difficult. But then he remembered the good feelings he had, the sense of accomplishment, right? When he reached the mountaintop, that was one of the greatest feelings he had. The sense of achievement and the beautiful view, right? So remember the sense of accomplishment and pride. So he felt very happy, and the positive type of pride that he had achieved something which he had never got before. His achievement. That was when he reached the top. So he knew that he must climb again. He wanted that experience again, perhaps. So he knew that he had the strength and determination. As you know very well, all things start with the mind. If your mind has the determination, right, that strong will to succeed, positive thinking, you could do it. That's why there is a saying, if you think you can, you can. If you think you cannot, you cannot. So in this case there, because of the motivation, he reflected also on feelings, a good sense of accomplishment, the joyful feeling he had when he was at the top of the mountain. So he decided, yes, I will do it. I can do it. He had that sort of determination. He knew he had the strength and determination to do it again. And so he climbed back up the mountain. Even though, of course, because he was a lazy fella and he had never had enough exercises and so on, so his muscles naturally would ache, some pains of the muscles, but not life-threatening. And he felt that he was short of breath, his lungs for once now working, and he felt the strain of this task. But it was manageable. He did not give up because he experienced the joy of achievement, of accomplishment, of satisfaction, of pride, all the positive things he experienced. So he did not give up. So the effort paid off. So there is just an image to show the climb up, right? Climb up, it's further up actually, just a cartoon image. And then this one actually to show, to demonstrate to you the sort of feeling that he had when he reached the summit or the top of the mountain. He was full of joy, extremely overjoyed, right? A sort of very, very nice feeling as indicated by this particular person in the image that reached the top of the mountain that fellow had climbed, not Mount Everest. So many people have also succeeded in climbing the Mount Everest and some other high mountains in the country also, in Sabah and so on. So he decided. So he did that, and did not give up. So now let us go on to number 9 now. So he pushed himself. So you see now it was the opposite of being lazy. Put in the effort to keep going, to complete the task. Then suddenly, he had this sort of thoughts, right? He was driven by knowledge, that you see, I used to sleep around and fantasy, but now I'm doing this hard work. So I could do something remarkable, accomplish the thing, going up the mountain, down the mountain, climbing up again. So I had overcome my laziness. So he was very, very satisfied that he could carry out the task, even though the work was challenging. So when he finally reached the monk, then he presented the monk with the feather, as was requested, the beautiful feather. But the story did not tell much about the feather. It was more about the lessons learned from this piece of project. So when the feather was given to the monk smiled. He was very, very compassionate. And the monk said, well done, my son. It's not his son, it's just a saying only, just a monk like showing very great metta, affection for another younger person than my son or my daughter and so on. This is a saying, it's not actual son. So he said, well done, my son. Monks don't marry and they don't have children. So they consider everybody who is younger is their sons. Sometimes it's all brother also. So now you see here, you see, say, well done, my son, he told the young man. You have learned an important lesson today. Now, so he started giving him the motivational talk, which has actually good Dharma lessons applied. Laziness is not something to be accepted or tolerated. So he told him about the dangers of laziness, and then how it will spoil your future, and then also it will give your character, it will give you a bad name. When people consider this a lazy person, no. So he's not a hardworking or diligent person. So your character also is tarnished, spoiled already. People know you as a lazy person. So therefore, this negative quality of laziness cannot be accepted or tolerated, right? So a person who has this negative quality of being lazy, then once he knows how important it is to overcome this, so it is a challenge. And you have succeeded in overcoming that hurdle, that obstacle. The thing like something like, something, wow, you have to jump over one, like maybe 100 meters or 200 meters hurdle race running, you have to jump over the hurdles, right? So, and of course, the young man was listening very attentively to the monk. He could understand because he experienced it. He experienced it, even the task was difficult, but he kept on doing the work and he had very, very nice feelings and he felt very satisfied. This sense of accomplishment, of achievement was truly remarkable. So all the good things came to the mind and he realized that you could actually overcome your laziness and do something if you set your heart and mind on it. So those were very important life lessons. So you see from an experience on the experience that he had, his attitude transformed already. He knew that laziness would give him not nice feelings when you feel restless, bored, and all this. But whereas you are diligent, hardworking, you do a project, you keep your mind on what you are doing positively, then your mind states will be good. You feel satisfied, you feel happy, joyful, and your mind also will not have that boredom or restlessness and so on. So he knew the importance of overcoming laziness and putting your heart and mind in the piece of work that we do. So he learned a lot of Dharma. So now let us go on to slide number 10 now. So as the monk explained, of course the monk I think gave him a good Dharma lessons. So he nodded in understanding, he nodded understanding. He could understand the wisdom of the monk's words. Why? Because he experienced it. If somebody were to tell you something and then you like doubt, you don't believe, then nothing is really transformed in your mind. But if you, let's say, listen to the words of wisdom and then you put it into action, right? Let's say a wise person tells you, these are the things you can do, then you find you'll be less worried, you'll be more peaceful and so on. Then if you don't do it, nothing happens. So you go and practice. Like, for example, they advise you obviously say, I feel depressed, very bored. Then let's say a wise monk advises you. Actually, if you do some dana work, service, maybe you help out in the old folks home or even the Buddhist Association or any other welfare organizations, then you see a transformation. But of course, you will listen, yeah, very important, but you don't carry out, it's useless. But you go and do it and realize the truth of the monk's words of wisdom. Then changes take place in your mind. It's something like this. So the young man nodded because he could understand very clearly from his own experience of carrying out the project of finding the feather and bringing it back. Isn't it? I've explained that one many times just now. So then he realized he became very, very self-confident. He realized that he had always been capable of great things. Actually, he said, I can do all these things, no. But because I did not overcome this evil force, Mara's force, right, of laziness, no. Postpone right, dilly-dally sleep laze around So days and weeks and months and years will pass and then you will always be like that. It will be terrible, isn't it? That you do not achieve the things that you are actually capable of, whatever it is. Whether it is to take up the cookery or, being, trying to know more about automobiles and be a great mechanic whatever that you have a passion for, you must put in the effort and tell yourself that you are able to do it. I can be a chef, you say. I like cooking. Let's say you say that. And then you put in the effort and try lah. Then one day you'll be very successful, as you have heard of stories of great chefs lah, or writers lah, or poets lah, singers lah, dancers also, whatever lah. Great things. Whereas you know, dilly-dally, tidak apa, malas, leceh lah, Malay word leceh lah, then your life will have been wasted. So now he knew already that he had the strength and the determination to overcome any obstacle that lay in his path. Of course, life will be full of challenges, obstacles, hurdles. No? You carry on a project, there will be obstacles. Just as he wanted to get a feather, there will be obstacles to climb up and then climb down and so on, you see. But he took up the challenge because he believed that he could do it. He had the strength and determination, and the strength and determination came because he had experienced some positive feelings during the climb. So this one is very interesting, animated. It's a positive thinking. I can do it. As I said just now, if you think you can, you can. If you think you cannot, then you cannot. And sometimes when you set out to do a project, you might fall in the sense that you might fail for first few times. But you have to remember, they're very motivational tips. Failure is not failure. Failure is failure to get up after you fall. Yeah, no, successful people have failed before. There is no success without failure. I've told many times the story of the inventor of the electric bulb, Thomas Edison. Remember? And, you know, he was the one that invented the electric bulb. And from there, later on, we have so many types of light bulbs, neon lights and all those stuff, isn't it? But you know how many times he tried? More than 700 times. He kept on doing the experiment. And each time, you know, he would face the challenge. And he failed how many times? No, hundreds of times. So some of his friends told him, Thomas, it's useless, give up, you're wasting your time. He said, no, you have not learned anything, you cannot get it. All discouraging words from some people. But I said, no, I can do it. All right? And I don't consider each time that I fail as a failure, because I can learn. I can learn why did I fail? Oh, I did this step wrongly. So I take steps to overcome the mistake. And then carry on. So each step, it did not work, I learned something. So finally, as you know, you're successful. And now we know this great person, Thomas Edison, the inventor of the electric bulb. So that is the sort of thing where you can overcome your laziness, right? Your negative thinking. All these are very good lessons. So now let us go on to number 11. So now let us reflect on the many good life lessons and Dharma points that we can learn from this story about overcoming laziness. So the lesson of the month's challenge, and then the monk gave the challenge, right, was to teach this point, how you should overcome the laziness, and you are capable of great things. So the lesson of the monk's challenge is that laziness is not something that should be accepted or tolerated. Because if you do nothing about it, you are a lazy person, you are a student, you don't do your homework, you always keep on procrastinating, delay, you don't do your project in time, all those things, those are negative things. So the laziness should not be accepted or tolerated. And you should change your attitude, your mindset, as this person did. Of course, it was through experience, right? But here also you change and you can see the positive outcome. So the laziness is a challenge, that you must overcome. Something said. So you find, if you look at all the successful people, right? The great inventors, or even present day, you have the millionaires and so on. You think they were lazy? They work very, very hard, right? There's like no pain, no gain. So then they took steps to overcome the halangan or hurdles. And then also what did they do? They pushed themselves very hard to attain their goals or realize their ambitions. Sometimes you feel, oh, you're quite impossible. And then especially you have, not so good friends that don't give you encouragement, discourage you, ask you to give up. But you think over and then you change your attitude. Then you find within you there is this a very great strength inside within. And there's a resilience. Resilience means you can tahan all the hardship. To be resilient means to be able to endure, to face up with these difficulties, which can be overcome and they will be wiped out. And you never tested it and you never knew that this could exist. So I put in the picture of the hardworking ants. So you see this animated image shows the hardworking ants, and the message is just this: you must always be diligent. So diligence is the opposite of laziness. Let's say you have two persons or two students, one a very, very lazy bum, and the other is a lazy, another one is a very hardworking, diligent student. Whom do you think the teacher would like? Whom do you think that people would admire or respect or think well of? Of course, the diligent person, isn't it? So if you don't develop that diligence, but you are always having the habit of being lazy, so you go on and you would have wasted your life. And this is very important in Dharma practice. Now, actually, it's stated in the Buddhist scriptures that diligence in the Dharma practice is one of the most important things. There are monks that tell us that diligence is the most important quality to have in order to be successful when you practice the Dhamma. I've given quite a number of presentations on the life of the Buddha. And you could see that the Buddha, in his striving 6 years to become enlightened, he was so diligent, practicing ascetic practices, a very difficult one, And yet he went on practicing, meditating, even torturing the bodies. And because last time he didn't know, he followed the ancient Brahmins methods. Some of these are not successful. But he carried out diligently and tested out for himself that these were not the methods. So when you reflect on this, I think your laziness will run away. And for adults who are on the path in practicing the Dhamma, you must look at this Buddhist code. Some say that, it came exactly from the Buddha. It could be, or maybe the words will change a bit. But anyway, it is a very good Dhamma teaching. And definitely it is a Dhamma teaching. And let us look at this very important thing. We must be diligent today. To wait until tomorrow is too late. This is a very important lesson. We must not postpone. We must not procrastinate. You remember the proverb? Procrastination is the thief of time. So, you say, namay lah, I wait until tomorrow lah. But you must know, are you sure you have a tomorrow? Uncertainty is a fact of life. Impermanence is a fact of life. Nothing is certain, isn't it? Today, I mean, a person, I may be alive. And tomorrow, not to say tomorrow, or even the next hour of this, when I go out, I may meet with an accident and then I die. We are not superstitious. We have to face the reality, Of course, you take the great caution and everything, but you cannot prevent it sometimes, right? So that can come unexpectedly and suddenly at any time. So if you keep on postponing, then it might be too late. So you cannot bargain and say, hey, baby, I want to do this project, I haven't done. You cannot. The particular sickness, cancer, what struck you already. Right? Then you find your time is limited and you're so sick now you cannot do it. So therefore, we must be diligent and start the work today. Today itself, now. If you have not been hardworking, you say, starting from today, I must be diligent. I have a timetable, carry out the project, and so on, all these things. So that's a very, very important code, a Buddhist code. So I want you to reflect on this, so that if you have not been diligent, then it is time. Actually, it's not only applicable to students, even though this is supposed to be a presentation for students, not so much for primary students, because some of the things are quite difficult. But more suitable for secondary students, university students, or college students, or youth members, and also some young adults. In fact, it can be applied for all actually. All right, now let us go on to slide number 12 now. So you always have to tell yourself, to overcome laziness, we must challenge ourselves, right? Because every one of us has that capability. We have that special strength we have not tapped into. So we must challenge ourselves and set ambitious goals, high goals. Of course, in Buddhism, the highest goal is must strive hard, be diligent to reach Nibbana, to be enlightened. All right? No matter how difficult they may seem. Of course, you find that there are, obstacles, hardship, but you must have resilience, can endure, right? Not to give up easily, persistent, just like Thomas Edison. Then you are a great person in a sense. But today, too many people give up. They only want to enjoy themselves. And then later on, they suffer lah, because they have not worked hard, lack of money, borrow money, and so on. Right? So today, I find so many, even the youth members, they spend so much money, but they haven't earned yet also. Right? Then later on, I become bankrupt and borrow money from Along and all those stuff. And that is because your attitude is not correct. So you find, very difficult, no, right? They think, must have easy job, a lot of money. So that's why you get so many persons get conned already. Scam. They got conned and then being lured by the Taikor syndicate to other countries because they promised them very high salaries, but little work. Actually, they were conned or they were scam, and then to work in syndicates to go and scam or cheat other people, and they will torture you if you don't follow and so on. You real hell. Why? Basically, it's greed and you don't have the wisdom. You find no no pain, no gain. You must, you don't think that things will come out so easily. Money doesn't fall from the sky. So work hard in an honest way, wise way. So we must push ourselves beyond our limits. And then to persevere, to always go on, even when there are setbacks and halangan. As I told you about the story of Thomas Edison, there were many other cases in the history of scientists or writers, or some writers, struggle for years, write and rewrite and so on. Finally, they succeeded. Fantastic, became very famous. Now, one I read was this author, Mario Puzo. He wrote The Godfather. You had to write more than 10 times. After that, publisher rejected and so on. But he kept on doing it, right? Modify, edit the thing, correct the mistakes until after 17 times, then the publisher accepted the manuscript book, published it, and it became a bestseller, and then made into movies like Godfather 1 and 2. And then he became so very famous and rich. Why? Through these qualities of diligence, determination, perseverance, all those things. So we must also cultivate discipline. If you don't have self-discipline, very hard to succeed. Some people say, yeah. They do a timetable. I'm going to sit for the exam, or maybe SPM or SCPM or whatever, right? But never follow the timetable. The friends call you up to go shopping. You okay lah, can lah. No discipline, how to succeed. And then also must be consistent. That means, let's say you follow something, the schedule, consistent. Some are very hard working for 1 or 2 days. Then after that, not consistent already. Go back to the lazy ways. That means the old habits come back. Basically, it boils down to the thing of understanding with wisdom and being very disciplined. As he also suggests here, you must have a schedule, all right? A schedule, and you stick to it. Be disciplined. Right? If you cannot do it today, Wow. Then you say, okay, today I have something, so this one I cannot. You go to ganti balik next day. Then you, in this case, all the good habits come to you and you develop. And the good habits will build up a very good character. So in this process, you find that you must always stay focused to develop your concentration and mindfulness. And that's where the Dhamma is very helpful. If you also learn the Dhamma, so some have attended Sunday school, and then also went on to secondary Dhamma classes and joint camps and so on. So they learn very important things, tools that will help you to be successful, like being mindful, being concentrated, right? And don't just always give in to your emotions. I don't feel it. I don't feel like it. Wait till I feel nice. Oh, it never comes, right? You get tempted so easily by Mara, and Mara is so happy. You see, he doesn't work already. He's not diligent. He always wants to enjoy himself, goes to shopping lah, or listen to music non-stop lah. Not to say you can't do that. There are periods of relaxation, right? But this one becomes a bad habit already. Just knowing how to enjoy themselves. So that is dangerous. So you can see the animated this fella, right? Maybe he has developed good qualities. He's disciplined. Then he has a schedule. He manages his time well. Of course, sometimes parents teach their children and so on, like this mother telling the young son be disciplined and so on. But sometimes they don't listen and so on. So you have to find very good ways right? You encounter good teachers and so on, or even monks and so on. They give you good ways. That this monk change this person, isn't it? By the mountain climbing project. These are lazy lah. This you know very well. So now let us go on to the next slide. And the next slide is slide number 13 already. Let us So this is the slide 13 already. It again tells you about the importance of overcoming laziness and also how to overcome it. I've given you many points already, right? So now it's mentioned, I got this from the internet and then I edited it and then modified and made into a presentation. So another important aspect of overcoming laziness is to cultivate a growth mindset. Now, growth mindset means you set in your mind that you want to keep on improving and developing your mind. It's like growing. Let's get in this case, it shows like, for example, you are growing a plant. So you have to take steps. You cannot just plant the seed and don't bother about it, isn't it? You want the plant, the seed to grow up into a beautiful plant and then later on maybe bear you the flowers or the fruits. So you have to put in the effort, isn't it? Like for example, to water it, to make sure it gets enough sunlight, and then also to put fertilizers, and then to take away all the weeds, all these are that will destroy the roots of the plants and all those things. So effort is needed, isn't it? So you have that sort of thing, then you know, I must have a growth mindset. This growth mindset actually is positive, right? So you must always have this idea. No doubt, there might be difficulties, there might be failures, but because of my mind setting on growth, to develop, that I know that there will be challenges, trouble, obstacles, and even failures. But no, I consider all these things as opportunities. Opportunities where I can grow in my mind. I develop in my mind. So as opportunities where I can learn important life lessons, whereas the lambat person will say, give up already, don't want to do already. So you can see a person cultivating a growth mindset and one that gives up easily. So when you have this sort of a mind, of a growth mind, that you always have this determination, you want to develop the mind, then things begin to happen and you have to take steps. So it's actually about changing our attitude, transforming the mind. We can reframe our thinking negatively, right? Like very easily giving up, being lazy, postponing things, right? Leceh, don't concentrate or be mindful on the work. So you change that type of mind into positive, like improving on your concentration, improving on your punctuality, no procrastinating or postponing. So you have to take steps that can be done because we are smart, thinking creatures, not the animal. No. Animal, we sleep, eat, have sex, urinate, pass motion, eat, all this. Maybe like you see the life of a pig like that, you see. We are not like that. We have that mind. So ultimately, finally, then, you can overcome the laziness. Or all those negative qualities, you overcome that. So you find that all the things actually start from the mind. So the important thing, that's why in Dharma practice or Dharma learning and training, the most important thing is the mind in the way, the sense that you have to develop the mind. Because when you develop the mind, then good qualities, all the good qualities come out. And one of it is wisdom. And when you have that wisdom, then you find so many things turn out right. In the sense that you will be able to face with difficulties much better, right? And then you find your mental states of calmness, joy, peacefulness, happiness all begin to grow. And you can face with problems much better because you have developed your mind in the right direction to develop the qualities, the positive qualities. I've told you many of those already. Right? Patience lah, endurance lah, and then determination lah, effort. All those I've mentioned many times. But the thing is, how many people will heed that advice or the messages of life lessons? All my postings, I think more than 100 or 100 over near 200 already. All on these lines because those are most important things. No point are we telling you, go and pray lah, pray this, pray that. All this is not the Dharma way, right? So the other important thing is we train the mind such that we have resilience, boleh tahan hardship and endure, being able to endure and to get out of your comfort zone. This is a very important aspect to train the mind because many of us are quite lucky, right? You have even aircon in the room lah, and then good food lah, good drinks lah, clothes, everything all very good. So used to that type of lifestyle, or even able to go and see Coldplay, even though it was a few $100s. So you have never stepped out of your comfort zone. Then what happens when you have occasions coming where weather patterns change, it becomes very challenging, right? And then maybe your family goes into maybe a state where business is not good already. So money less already. So your food becomes not so like before. Pocket money also reduce. So now you cannot step out of your comfort zone. You cannot endure it. You're not resilient. What happens? You suffer. So these fellows who are always in the comfort zone, in a way they are spoiled. Even the housework also, all the Indonesian maids will do. Even going to school, our Indonesian maids will take the handbag. The school bags, the school bags, and then bring the shoes, and maybe even wear the shoes for you. So everything all in the comfort zone, you never experience the hardship of life. So when things become challenging, then you have suffering, dukkha. Some are in the comfort zone so much, you cannot endure any hardship and so on. Like there were cases where these young people, their girlfriends ran away or found somebody else. They cannot tahan already, cannot endure always in the mind. Everything must get one. Commit suicide also. So many problems arise because you have never trained your mind to get out of the mind, of the comfort zone. Now you can see this in the comfort zone. Right? Every time, everything very easy. Nice cushion to sleep on, a nice bed to sleep on, and then lace around, everything. Want to do any piece of work? Don't ask me. I want to do the work, everything. So this is the danger. So now let us now go on to the last slide now. Now, this last slide talks about this person, Benjamin Franklin, was also a very great person invented things and he was in politics, a statesman. Then he said, he basically is telling you that if we work very, very hard, right? Then you can accomplish all those things. Those who try very hard. It's actually talking about diligence and effort, right? So all the great things that a person does, and he himself was like that also, you see, then you can achieve the success. So the success of persons, these two factors are very important for success. Diligence and labor. Labor means putting in the effort. Diligent, very hardworking. And then you can also add like persevering and persistence. So I put in my quotation here, very important, is in the form like a poetic line or couplet, we call it. With diligence and persistence in your quest, may you attain the very best of success. So if you want the success, these two qualities, among other qualities like patience and so on, are very important. Without these two, very hard to have great success. Being diligent, one of the most important, and persistence. Persistence will be perseverance, resilience, always going on. So now we have come to the end already. I've spoken for more than 1 hour already. So I hope you all have benefited. So before we say sadhu 3 times, I would like to take this opportunity to say sadhu and thank you to all the students of secondary school, tertiary education, all the youth members, to all who have been following this presentation on a motivational topic. So I say sadhu and thank you. Sadhu, because you have taken your time, right, to follow this presentation with the mindfulness and concentration. You have the endurance, of following this right through. So sadhu to you all, right? So now let us hold our palms together and say sadhu 3 times, right? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So to all who have been following the presentation, may you all be well, happy, peaceful, and healthy. And may you always practice the Dhamma, then you find your all these qualities we mentioned will grow when your mind grows with in wisdom and compassion. Take care.